Welcome, everyone, to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for this beautiful day on the 25th of April. Prior to officially starting a meeting, we always ask local clergy to come and lead us in prayer this morning. And this morning is no different. We have Pastor David Tennant here. He is from the Owensville Methodist Church, and he has come here many times and helped us out with that. So, Pastor,
Good
yours.
Good morning. Let's be in prayer. Psalm 118:24 reminds us, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. When was the last time we rejoiced? Being glad, being happy is one level, but to find within this day joy, which is excitement, and then rejoicing, which is expressive. So within this day, it's a beautiful day. We have just celebrated Easter, the greatest event in history. So there is much to be at least thankful for. So I pray within this day, we would be able to rejoice and express that. And within our jobs as well, whatever God has called us to do, and in this room, equipping those making decisions, give them discernment, give them peace of mind, give them courage. Father, give them the skills and the ability to make the decisions that you would want them to make. And then for the rest of us, as we do our jobs, again, creating those jobs for us and the skills that we need. But again, in the job in this day, let us be glad in it and even rejoice. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for
Welcome.
being here this morning.
My pleasure.
And to officially start our meeting, Commissioner Batchelor, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will officially call to order this meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and we will start out on our regular agenda at letter B is approval of regular session minutes of 4/16/2025. Board, you've had these minutes early, had the opportunity to review them. Is there any need for revisions or other discussion?
No.
Then I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of 4/16/2025.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Letter C. Letter C is public participation this morning. Is there anyone here today that would like to participate from the public? Would like to pick up the podium and say a few words? Hearing none, I'll close public participation. We will move on to letter D. Letter D is the consent agenda. Board, you've had this consent agenda early, had the opportunity to review it. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda for further discussion?
None.
Hearing none, and ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented for today's meeting.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we will move on to letter E, which is the non-consent agenda. The non-consent agenda starts on page 4 with item number 11. Item number 11 is a recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 042-25 to approve payments for vendors in the total amount of $5,393,174.83 as outlined in the BCC approval invoice reports for checks dated April 23rd, 2025, BCC directed prepaid invoice reports, and the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on April 21st, 2025. And further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants pursuant to and in compliance with section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Board, do I have a motion for approval and payment of the bills?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Thank you. Yes. We will move to item 12. Item 12 is Sarah Parton. Sarah, glad you're here this morning.
Hi, Sarah. Got some information, so after I read the motion, I can maybe kind of help explain
the motion a little more. David, I'm gonna move this keyboard down if that's okay. Okay, number 12 is recommendation to note the Board of County Commissioners agreement to act as the non-recipient responsible entity for the environmental certification for one Clermont Metropolitan Housing Authority project as outlined below, and to designate Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to act as a certifying officer for purposes of the environmental review, with authority to take all necessary actions and to execute all documents required to complete the review in accordance with the applicable rules and regulations required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under 24 CFR Part 58. And on there it says the project name is the Light Street Development, and that the grant recipient is Clermont Metropolitan Housing Authority in the amount of $275,000 or more. And it's a project-based voucher program, so they'll be providing vouchers. And they are doing this through a partnership with the Mental Health Recovery Board of Clermont Counties and contracting with mental health providers. So they're going to be providing housing and services to those with serious mental illness, substance abuse issues, developmental and or other disabilities who need support to live stably in the community. And the environmental review, I have a small portion of it. It's actually like 430 some pages. But the small portion of it here is just, they're basically looking through and making sure, since there's ground disturbances with new construction, just have to make sure nothing's, being disrupted. Basically, like they've checked with the State Historic Preservation Office, tribal nations that have interests here in our county. They also check with for wetlands, environmental things like that, wildlife, endangered species, anything like that. And then we had environmental consultants who did do the review. Desmond looked over it. I briefly got a chance to look over it as well yesterday. Everything looks good, and actually just did a training on this on Monday, so this was good timing for this to come up. And the result of determination for the environmental review was finding of no significant impact, which means that this project will not result in significant impact on the quality of the human environment for that area.
Thank you. Board, any questions or comments for Sarah? Explain any more? Okay. Then I would ask for a motion as read. I'd ask for a motion to approve item number 12.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Anything further? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Sarah.
Sarah.
Item number 13. Item number 13 is Sandy Tahat from our HR department. Sandy, glad you're here this morning. Morning.
On behalf of Clermont County Job and Family Services, this is a recommendation to execute the collective bargaining agreement by and between the County of Clermont and the American Federation of State County Municipal Employees, which is AFSCME, Ohio Council 8 with Local 3536, representing bargaining unit employees of the Department of Job and Family Services for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions of the agreement.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 14.
Item 14 is a recommendation to authorize the preparation and processing of record-only munis personnel action forms as outlined in Exhibit A and in compliance with Article 29 entitled Wages of the Collective Bargaining Agreement by and between the county and AFSCME and Department of Job and Family Services to reflect contract year 2025 salary wage increases for eligible bargaining employees based on merit performance evaluations as prepared for the evaluation period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, with said adjustments to their rates of pay to be effective as of 12/23/24.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call.
Congratulations, Sandy. Good job.
Joint effort.
You bet.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Sandy. Item number 15. Item number 15 is Chris McClintock. He provides the management of our economic development department. Morning.
Good morning. Item 15 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 043-25, declaring the development of real property by Veterans Club LLC within the county as a public purpose, and increases in the taxable value are exempt from taxation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.52 for the tax parcel numbers outlined below. You want me to read each parcel?
You don't have to.
Oh, yes, you do.
Just to reiterate,
They're in
this has been discussed with the Stone Lake Township, Batavia Township, Clermont Northeast School District, and Batavia Schools. So they're all aware of this. They have no objections.
Okay.
Thank you. Board, you've heard the reading item number 15. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a second?
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Item 16. Good morning, Emily Akers.
Good morning, Board. I have a recommendation to execute Addendum Number 6 to the lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Bureau of Motor Vehicles, Office of Facility Management Leasing and Land Management for the lease of 1,565 square feet of office space within the county building located at 457 West Main Street, Batavia, Ohio. This is for the Deputy Registrar Operations at an annual rate of $30,177.36, payable by the Deputy Registrar on the first day of the month in the amount of $2,514.78 for an additional term beginning 7/1/2025 through 6/30/2027, which includes additions, deletions, and/or modifications to the initial lease agreement and subsequent addendums, specifically Article 9, relative to maintaining leased space temperatures with all the other terms and conditions of the reference lease agreement and addendums thereto to remain in full force and effect.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion?
No.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 17.
So this is another lease. This is all about the one-stop location renewal of the leases. This is a recommendation to execute Addendum Number 10 to the lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Office of Facility Management Leasing and Land Management for the lease of 1,939 square feet of office space within the county building located at 457 West Main Street. This is for the driver's examination operations at the annual rate of $26,273.45 to be remitted every quarter in the amount of $6,568.37 for an additional term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, which includes additions, deletions, and/or modifications to the initial lease agreement and subsequent addendum, specifically Article 9, relative to maintaining lease space temperatures with all other terms and conditions of the reference lease agreement and addendums thereto to remain in full force and effect.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 17. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 18.
One more lease. This is a recommendation to amend the lease agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and the Clermont County Educational Service Center, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 3/30/2022 and renewed on 5/8/2024 for the lease of 9,799 square feet of office space located in the Family Support Center Building, 2400 Clermont Center Drive, to revise Article 3C as it relates to the base level for the percentage change in the Consumer Price Index for the Midwest East North Central Region Index at the beginning of each renewal from the second half of '24, and further to renew the lease agreement for an additional one-year period commencing on July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 at the rate of $15.92 per square foot for the annual amount of $156,000.08, which reflects the change in the CPIU at the amended base level and is the third and final of three subsequent one-year renewal terms available pursuant to Article 3 of said agreement, with all other terms and conditions of the reference lease agreement to remain in full force and effect.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 18. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thank you, Emil. Item number 19, La Blue, Water Resources.
Item 19 is a recommendation to accept the following grant of permanent water easement with rights of reentry for repair and replacement that will be granted and conveyed to Clermont County by the grantor as outlined below for utility purposes. And this is for the Branch Hill Miamiville Road Water Main Replacement Project from Booster 1 to Branch Hill Guinea Road, located in Miami Township, and to authorize the county auditor to remit payment as compensation for the permanent easement and right-of-way.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20, isn't it?
19.
19, do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 20.
Item 20 is a recommendation to execute a contract for professional services between the board and Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This is for the for pre-construction and construction administration services for the Bethel Lift Station EQ facility project located in Tate Township, as outlined in their Exhibit A of their proposal dated November 27th, 2024. For a total amount not to exceed $133,270, with said services to be completed within 480 consecutive calendar days upon issuance of a written notice to proceed from the Water Resources Department, exclusive of county review time and contingent upon the release of the required purchase order. So the the bid opening for construction of this project is scheduled tomorrow. So this will be for the assistance of the management during construction.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item 21.
Item 21 is recommendation to authorize David L. Painter, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 1 to the contract with Smith & Brown Contractors Incorporated out of Harrison, Ohio. This is previously ratified by the board on September 13th, 2022. And this is for the Greenbrier Lift Station Improvements Project located in Batavia Township and represents a decrease in the amount of $81,525.56 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $1,258,219.44, as well as a non-compensable time extension of 483 calendar days for a revised contract completion date of December 30th, 2024 for additional installations and or modifications.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 21. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 22.
22 is a recommendation to approve the partial release of retainage of the contract between Clermont County and Building Crafts Incorporated out of Wilder, Kentucky. And this is relative to the Newtonsville Wastewater Treatment Plant Part A project located in Wayne Township, and to approve the application for payment number 19, which represents the partial release of retainage in the amount of $157,959.97 and a progress payment in the amount of $15,574.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 22. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Lyle. Item number 23. Good to see you back, Emily.
So item 23 is a recommendation to approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 151-24 for calendar year 2025 pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.40 as outlined in the following table.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 23. Do I have a motion for approval?
Finish the motion.
Commissioner, I need to read.
Finish it.
Oh, go ahead.
So I have 2 supplemental appropriations. One is for the prosecutor common pleas criminal regular salary for $16,074.26, and this is a vacation payout. And then I have for emergency management agency other expenses, $5,000, and that is for the grant that they received from Duke.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
When you said the following table, I was good to move. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 23. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. That concludes our non-consent agenda. Letter F is additions to that agenda. Tom, do we have any additions?
We don't have any at this time.
Okay. And that would mean our next step up is an 11 o'clock public hearing, which we are not ready for.
Nope.
So, Board, would you like to move on with H and get as close as we can
Yeah.
before we recess? Item number H is county staff elected official discussions. Gary Bryan, juvenile court administrator, was here to talk to us about Reclaim and Juvenile Resource Center updates. Gary, floor is yours.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. I know I come down here a couple of times a year just to talk about Reclaim, approving our grant agreement, amendments. Never really take the time to really explain about what Reclaim is. And really one of my biggest fears is, and I've been working with this Reclaim grant for 30 years. I know as much or more about anything about Reclaim in the state of Ohio. But if you ever asked me what that acronym stood for, I probably wouldn't know what it is. So the very first thing on the slide is that Reclaim is reason and equitable community and local alternatives to the incarceration of minors. This program's been in existence since 1994. It's something I'm very proud of. I think it's done a lot for the counties in the state of Ohio. It's funded by the state, but as you can see from the presentation, that it's really meant a lot to the counties by providing services in the county and not just the state at state institutions. Okay, in response to the growing need of local alternatives for juvenile courts and the overcrowding in the state institutions, the Reclaim Ohio initiative was created in 1993. The program launched in 1994, and Clermont was one of the original 9 counties. At that time, I wasn't working for the court yet, but that first year we're receiving funding. We're first. So in 1995, when I came to work in the court, we started spending that money in 1995. So how does it work? I better look at these slides here. Reclaim Ohio is a funding initiative which encourages juvenile courts to develop a range of community-based options or programming to meet the needs of each of the juvenile offenders, but more importantly, the youth at risk of offending. So if we can work with these kids early in their lives before they get into big trouble with the courts, we get good outcomes with our kids. So second part is the actual the funding part of it, the funding we get each year. It's made up of primarily 2 sources. The youth services subsidy, which is the 510 subsidy, provides $15.6 million to the counties, and it's all based on population. Our allocation for this year is $283,600. The variable subsidy, which is the 401, it provides $32.6 million of funding. It's based on a formula that rewards counties for providing services to youth and their families. Our allocation this year is $918,000. When I meet each year with the county administration about our budget, I normally show that we get anywhere from the 6th to the 8th largest allocation every year. We're the 13th or 14th largest county, but we always seem to get a bigger piece of that pie than the other counties because that formula that looks at a 10-year felony adjudication average for each county and looks at the bed days that we don't send kids to DYS, the more that we keep in the community and provide services in the community, we get a higher funding each year. So we're usually around, like I said, 6th to the 8th largest allocation. And if it was just based on population, like the youth services subsidy, we'd probably get around $600,000 a year. I can't remember the last time we got less than $900,000 of allocation. So we're at 918 this year. The third thing on here is the competitive reclaim funding, which because of the success of reclaim over the years, they started in 2016 awarding competitive reclaim grants on top of the 2 allocations that we get every year. Really due to the successes of DYS and eliminating some state institutions. That's in a future slide here. But they were able to invest in community-based programming to serve the right youth in the right environment with the right treatment. These are just the programs that both the subsidy allocation, like I said, we've been getting that for 30 years. And then the one on the right shows the competitive reclaim programs that we started applying for and getting in 2016. Because that's one of the questions that, of course, county administration is going to ask when we apply for these competitive reclaim awards on top of the allocation that we always get every year. What are you going to do to support it after the 2 or 3 years of seed money that they give us? That on the right shows you that in 2016, we got 2 awards. Multidimensional Family Therapy is an evidence-based family home-based program that we've been doing since 2016. And you can see it also shows on there that we also have funded that since 2000. After the seed money was out of the way in 2019, we just fund it with our regular subsidy reclaim funding. We do not ask the commissioners to fund that out of the general fund. Same thing with the parent project. The evening reporting program came along in 2018, 2019. We still operate that evening reporting program today. It's also funded out of the subsidy grant as well. We use staff for that, and they get paid overtime, but the grant does pay for that. 2022, 2023, the mentor program came along. We're just now running out of that competitive reclaim funding. We use the subsidy funds as well to program that into the future. What we're really here to talk about today is our Community Resource Center. We just received that funding in December of this year, just getting it started. There's $300,000 total in this award. The plan is also to fund that with subsidy moving forward. The issue there, I think, as some of the questions are, with that funding, we have to operate that outside of our courthouse. That's part of the RFP requirement. Community Resource Center should not be operated in your courthouse. We have the brand new courthouse. We have all the space, but they will not allow us to operate that in the courthouse. They want those services provided to the kids, to the families especially. They don't want to have to come to court. They're fearful if they come to court, they'll be locked up in detention or whatever. So if we have that resource center away from the courthouse, it can be in our county building. I think there's like 18 or 20 of them in the state of Ohio. Most of them are operated by or on county property. So the plan is to use our old probation building for now until we can get it up and running for a couple of years and just see where it takes us. If the community buys into this resource center, then somewhere down the road in a couple of years, maybe we can put it somewhere else, because I know the building that we're in now is not going to last forever. There's issues with that building, and don't see us operating it there in 10 years for sure. The next slide just shows you, again, bragging about our reclaim grant, just the fiscal 24-year program in the state of Ohio. There was 83,000 kids served in reclaim. The chart on the left shows that we have an 83% successful, 83% of the kids completed the programs that they went into in reclaim. This last slide shows on the right, it talks about, and this is really the success of reclaim is this slide here. In 1992, the DYS population in state institutions was 2,600. They had a very serious overcrowding problem in state institutions for juveniles. Due to the successes of reclaim over those years, our population currently is 600 in the state of Ohio. So we've gone from 2,600 to 600. Reclaim gets a lot of that credit. We benefited tremendously in Clermont County. Since the beginning of reclaim, we've actually received up $36.5 million of reclaim funding since the beginning of it. I was the financial administrator back in those days. And for me, it was all about the money in those first years, just bringing in as much money as we possibly could. But every county in the state, eventually figured out that those services provided in the community does a whole lot better job than those kids that go to DYS, because those kids will eventually come back into your community and they'll probably be worse off than they were when they went in there. They're probably now gang affiliated. They pretty much have to be in their state institutions. But if we can support those kids in the community, especially in their home with their families, because a lot of times the kids are not always the problem, that it could be the family, the environment that they're living in. So if we can, support those kids in the home, they have much better outcomes. The chart on the left just shows a 25-year history of reclaim. I think University of Cincinnati did this. It's on DYS's website. It'll show you in 1994, there was 3,000 admissions into DYS, into their institutions. In 2018, it's down to 381. As far as kids being adjudicated felons, 14,000 back in 1994 and 4,100 in 2018. Critics of reclaim says, well, if you're not sending the kids to DYS, they're committing more crimes in your community. That shows you that the actual crime rate has gone down tremendously over those years by providing those dollars to the local communities to provide the services for those kids. In 1994, we had 11 state institutions for juveniles. In 2018, and still today, we have 3. So they've eliminated 8 institutions statewide. So that $32 million that they're providing for the counties, if they still had 11 institutions, they'd be spending $200, $300, $400 million a year providing those services. So our admission rate back in 94 was 20% of those felony adjudicated kids, because only kids that commit felonies can go to DYS institutions. So they were committing 1 out of 5. The counties were back in 1994. In 2018, and even today, it's less than 10% of kids go to state institutions. What's really kind of a crime is in 1994, 63 kids, 12 and 13-year-old, went to DYS institutions. In 2018, it was only 4. So that's kind of the history and bragging about what Reclaim has meant to really the state of Ohio, but more importantly, Clermont County. Mike Rosser and Paige Olson, they're talk about the vision, what they have for the Community Resource Center. That's the latest grant that we got from Competitive Reclaim. So they'll talk about the vision.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
We wrote the grant for the Community Resource Center. The vision was, the mission is to basically keep as many kids as we can out of detention, and through the resource center, getting them assessed and then navigating them and linking them to services in the community. Therefore, keeping them out of detention. So Paige came on as director of the Community Resource Center, and she has great visions for it. Talk about your vision.
Hi, Commissioners.
Hi.
I've been with the court over 30 years now. Now I'm aging myself. And unfortunately, I've seen every level of the court, and last being the foster care and residential centers that we've had to place some of our juveniles. And I've seen the outcome is not always great when we've removed them from the community, removed them from their home. I want to see on the other end, we're seeing 7, 8, 9-year-old youth coming from our behavioral schools, coming to the court for help. What can we do for these families? So our vision is, what can we do in the community with our community partners, just to navigate through the systems in our county to help assist these families, youth, kinship placements, anything we can do to keep them away from the legal part of the juvenile court system. I used to work in probation, and I would tell these families it wasn't always a bad thing to be on probation if it was getting the help they needed to make their families and youth successful. So that is our vision at this point, to keep them as far away from the court process as we can. We want to work with our community partners where they can be a part of it, use our building for whatever they need to see their families away from court, not in probation. There's all kinds of things that I see that we can do with this. Navigation is key. I'm learning after all these years of different services that the county provides that we didn't even know we did. So I want to be that voice for the families too. So that's how we see it so far. Thank you.
And we are currently, we're working on another grant, which is due this Friday. And that is to provide mental health therapists inside the resource center.
Board, any questions?
My question is on the mental health. Are you connecting with the mental health department? And if so, if services are provided there, where's the funding going? Are you going to pay those counselors through the mental health out of your funding that you're receiving at this point? Or
We already have contracts with.
you already have your
Yes.
contracts?
Yes.
Okay. And,
Through the
but
court.
no, I mean, other than Presley Ridge, I mean, with our own mental health and recovery board, other than using those private entities out there that we use through Family, Children, and First Counsel and all that. My other question is, what are the hours of operation?
At this point, it's usually probably 8 to 4:30. Where I see it is that it would vary, it'd be flexible. I want to be able to offer weekend hours on Saturdays. As we grow, we will be as flexible as we can. We do evening services, groups, so I want to be as flexible as we can.
Now, how many staff are going to be in that building? How many staff?
Well, right now, there's only 3 of us right now.
Okay, but I mean, potentially.
Yes.
And Paige is the only one paid out of the grant right now, because it's $125,000 for 2 years for a total of $250,000.
Okay.
So she's the only one paid out of it. Mike's already been an employee, and we have a director of clinical services. He's
All right.
involved with it as well.
Okay, now, and how many, are there several staff that you expect to be moved out of the court system at juvenile court permanently into this building or not?
We went to Greene County. Greene County is one that had lots of probation officers, and a lot of that staff, due to the successes of their resource center, assessment center, they were able to move some of those probation officers over, and they become diversion officers.
Right.
And work with those kids at the earlier stages of their involvement or non-involvement with the court. So
So
if we're successful that way, staff can move over and be part of the resource center, because those kids may never get placed on probation.
Okay, then how many would we expect to be in a building like that? Let's say if you moved those probation officers in. If you were to mirror yourself after that county, how many would we expect to
Probably 2 or
move?
3 more staff.
Okay,
I think
Right.
the navigators, caseworkers, I wouldn't use the word officer at that point.
Right.
and now, my understanding is you've been in the building and things have been cleaned up, et cetera. Is that correct?
We've started, yeah. I did not move, Mike didn't move over to the new
All right.
juvenile probation.
And our
So I'm
community
still,
service.
community service is still housed there also.
All right.
CASA is in the back of our building.
Okay.
Community services has a lot of junk. So none of that stuff.
I saw some of the cleanup. That's why I was asking.
We're trying.
Okay.
Get invited.
Other question? Other question? Well, let's just talk 2 separate issues. One of the issues is what you can do with the children and how you can provide a diversionary process. Not a problem. I'll just speak for this board as out here at the dais. The other challenge that comes to us is the building. The building falls under the Board of Commissioners. This is, and I'll just use the term, our building. If this building is going to be used for this purpose, then it has to be worthy of being occupied on a 24/7 basis, which at the moment it's not. And we were aware of that. What we weren't aware of is that it was going to be repurposed. This was a building that had kind of reached its life expectancy. I spent some time going over and walking through the building, and the building needs a whole lot of work and a whole lot of help. And we built the juvenile new facility with 30,000 square feet and spent millions of dollars on it to move probation into that building, and we have for years thought about repurposing buildings at the complex there. And so one of the things that came up was whoa, hold on a minute. What are we doing with this building? We're responsible for this building. We don't know what its repurpose is for. A walkthrough says it's not in the condition that it should be to be occupied. And the other thing is that we're doing a complete study on all the campuses here at Clermont County, and that building may well be torn down. And so that is the thing that it wasn't the mission. Nobody has a question about the mission. The mission is good. The question was about the building. So we still have a question about that, and we have one of our facilities people here, Jessica, and obviously Ralph Lenny is here. And, many of us have, and that's not to say it's good or it's bad. There's just a lot of stuff stored in that building. That building has fire load requirements. That building doesn't particularly have adequate sprinkler protection in it. There's some questioning about the fire alarm system that's in that building, and access and egress. And so that's what the real concern is here.
I understand.
Right,
But
you
I-
know,
Are you also saying that you would have to be in a separate facility in order to continue with the grants?
We cannot be in the courthouse.
Mhm.
That's the requirement of the RFP because we were going to apply for it even the year before, and there was just nowhere at that time because we don't really want to have to spend that money on rent somewhere else.
right.
So the challenge is how can we do that,
Sorry.
inexpensively without having to, provide rent. The hope is that we can start it there, like I said, for a year or two, because
Mhm.
that building's not going to last forever. We all know that. The community buys into this, and who knows where it takes us from there, where that facility will eventually, because we need to have success with the resource center first before we, even look elsewhere for, the location. But if it's successful, if the community buys into it, we'll eventually find space for it.
And so I'll ask one more question, and it's kind of a pointed question. I've been a commissioner going on 9 years, and every year we do less and less juvenile cases. We get that report here. My question is, how many children of that age are going to come to this facility? What is even the demographic of that? Is it 100 kids get evaluated? Is it 200? Is it 9 children? I mean, what is that?
That's kind of hard to answer other than I want to give where we're going to start with our schools. Our schools, which I'm kind of working with right now, will be able to refer or to contact me. We're working with this family. Can we refer them to you? I think we will see between 50 and 75 families. I'm hope that may be on the low end. I'm kind of going from where I was with diversion and what I was doing with that. I also want to reach out to our school resource officers. I don't want it to be where they're bringing these kids to detention. I want them to know we have another opportunity or a service that we can work where they can call and say, this is what we're working with. Really don't want to arrest them.
But there is a service in schools right now that's provided by the county, and also kind of tagged to the educational service center. When teachers run into that, or principals, there is basically a caseworker that shows up for that.
Sure. And I think we'll be a part of that. I mean, I'm still an arm of juvenile court. I'm not going to hopefully be saying, hey, I do know the process of what will happen. And I can say I don't have the numbers today of how many kids we are seeing under disorderly conducts of fights,
Yes.
things that we can mediate, or we do not want to bring them to detention. I think we need to educate the schools when they get to that point of we're gonna send them to the court. I don't want them to send them to the court. I want to be that level prior to that. There's gonna be times when
Yep.
we have, we've educated, we've done prevention, and we're gonna have to move to that next step. But
And so again, for me, separating the two,
yes.
I totally understand the need for that. No question about that. One of the things that I would say is that there's a need here for our facilities group to get with all of you occupying the building and sit down and come to some type of a path forward, because we budget for these building upgrades based on our capital expenditures from the year. Any upgrade on that building will be outside of that scope, which throws a red flag, which puts us over budget. To be able to repurpose a building like this, we have to know that up front, and we have to include it in the budgetary process. So that's why we had the questions and the concerns about it,
I totally understand that.
Right.
Well,
So,
and Paige also, to not only just a number of reductions of juveniles, a lot of them times you have the resource officers in the school who they're there during the school and then having a referral. I understand that. But on top of it all, we're also keeping them out of juvenile court, which eventually, by the time they're graduating from high school and the bullying and everything starts in the school, we're then getting them in as an adult. So it's going to increase your adult population as well in the jail. I understand it. But on the other hand, we have a 5-year plan that we just have gone out there and done on all the buildings, and we need to know where everybody is. And that's where the board, I believe, at this time is coming
Right.
from. We have to operate underneath the budget and figure out how we're going to pay for a lot of this.
so I think this would be the ask. The ask would be, Tom, that you get with them and with our facilities department and sit down and see if you can come up with a pathway that keeps us from putting a piece of ticker tape around this building that says do not use.
Well, and the facilities master plan is pending.
Right.
Yes.
So I don't know what the recommendation is at this point.
Right.
So if they recommend that the building stands and we just renovate the building, or if the building is torn down. And so I don't know if that meets with the timeline of the grant. So if it's a 2-year grant, and they're making a recommendation the building should be raised, then we have an issue about where they're going to move to. So you guys can lease a space. You could potentially lease a space outside of a county-owned building, correct? I mean, because I don't know where we would house it if it wasn't for that space.
We didn't pursue it that way.
Right, but I
don't know
mean-
if we can or can't out of the competitive reclaim grant.
Okay. All right.
So,
And that's, Mr. Lenny, when's the master plan report due? Is it the end of May? So we'll have more information for the board by the end of May. But in the interim, we'll get facilities up there to check out the building to make sure that some improvements we need to make. And
and Costa's in the building right now, so it's not like it's completely vacant.
Right.
I think I heard you say that cost is not in that building right now. It's not.
They are in. They are.
Obviously, we misunderstood each other, you know.
Oh, they're there.
I was trying to get to, nobody's occupying that building 24/7, but you're not going to let me get there.
No, can't do that today.
I get it. I get it.
You may
Well,
be sitting
thanks.
out there with an umbrella, but you'll be there.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
You know, those discussions are always difficult, but you know, you got to have them and you got to have the right path forward. So, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you being candid and, you know, coming over and informing us, and hopefully we've been candid with you all to say we have concerns too. So, you know, okay, we'll have our people get with your people
Keep up the good work.
and they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll know more when we get this plan.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You bet. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Ralph Lenny, our county administrator, talking about the Service Corporation. I bet we're going to talk about energy costs.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
What I want to do is bring you up today the decision that was made by the CCAO-SC concerning the future energy contract that will be implemented in 2026. Just to give you a background of the energy program, this is overseen by executive committee. I am actually on that committee. I was elected by my peers from the other counties in March of last year. October of last year. And this committee basically monitors what is going on with the energy, how it can be purchased, procured for the 67 counties, in this case, in the electrical program, to get the best price possible. This is done maybe every 3 years on the electrical side, every 3 years also on the natural gas side. The program basically started in 1991, and it has been very successful. I've been with it since the year of 2000, with 2 other counties previously coming to here, and been involved in most of those years on the executive committee, and involved in the development. Originally, it was basically a natural gas program. Then several years ago, they introduced the electrical program when deregulation occurred in electrical. And it took several years for that program to roll out, basically due to the fact of understanding the deregulation world and how they could get the better deal for the counties from the utility side. They also have used Palmer Energy. Has been the last several years, maybe the last 10 years, been the energy consultant, been very successful. What they do with Palmer Energy, they put together requests for proposals. They also work very closely with the Prosecutors Association of Ohio and selected prosecutors in different counties to come up with what the agreement should be, because these agreements has to be one contract that affects all the counties that's involved. Otherwise, it would be a mess. Everybody would have a different agreement, and there would be no savings. Basically, right now, county administration, based on the resolution that was passed, is responsible to manage these utility agreements. I have been appointed as the county representative. The alternate representative is Jessica Powell, the assistant county administrator. I, as stated earlier, was elected to the executive committee, which gives me the right to vote and make decisions for the 67 counties that involve in the electrical side. Also, we are kept informed. We probably meet 6 times a year in a Teams meeting to go over what is going on in the area of natural gas, electric, and solar. Also has been looked at, but has never really pursued due to a lot of unanswered questions as to where solar energy is going. The request proposal went out last year. It came back with several response by many, probably over 21 different firms was contacted. We ended up with 5 good proposals that came back. It was looked at. The decision was made to have a contract starting in May of 2025, going through May of 2027. The thing that was kind of unique in this approach, they decided to break it up into 3 parts. Basically 3 groups based on the type of energy usage there was. As a result, you'll see in the next slide, the savings, depending on how it worked out as a type of utility contract that you had. Basically, the group 1 came in at 8.45 cents per kilowatt. Group 2 came in at 5.76, and group 3 came in at 5.603. The first one included the capacity charges. So there will not be any increase to that cost that is being absorbed by the utility that's providing the power. The other 2 will be at the mercy, just like our bills will be, with the charges that's going to be passed through for capacity. But because of that, and due to the fact that there's there's a larger usage by fewer accounts, the price was lower. So that's what was looked at. We basically have the second most number of utility accounts of all the 67 counties. That is because of our water resources department. All the little lift stations, all the pumps, all the way that we're set up. So there's only one that beats us by, I think they have 256.
So it's Lyle's fault.
Yes, it's all
Blame it on
Lyle's. He will benefit because most of his will fall into group 1. We also have 15 facilities that fall in group 2, and 1 is in group 1, which is the group 1 is, as well as I can determine, is most likely the jail, or is a large treatment plant, one of the 2. We still are doing analysis. Wade is doing analysis for me of all the accounts so we can make sure we can understand who's going to get hit with what. The other benefit when they went out and redid this, we call it a refresh to the 5 firms that responded, was we didn't want a situation, the committee did, where each county was limited to 5% change. If we build a new building, we increase it by 5%, more than 5%, we would have to renegotiate the contract. We couldn't go more than 5% increase, nor more than 5% decrease. So we were able to pool all that by each group. So as a result, in reality, we could add 3 more counties and still not go over the threshold of the amount of kilowatts. So in reality, these utilities are guaranteeing this rate, even if we increase our usage that occurs, which was a very interesting response. A couple of the utilities chose not to respond to that. In our case, we do have an existing contract that goes through the end of this year, which is very favorable to us. As I stated in previous presentation, compared to what we were paying and will continue to pay in 25 based on 24, this contract that we have now saves us a little bit over $1 million. We will not see that occur in 26 because the rate is higher. I have talked to Palmer Energy. In fact, this morning, they will have a comparison of how much we will be saving compared to Duke's standard rate. Probably in July is when it normally rolls out to all the counties. And I will provide that to Lidle for his budget and also to facilities for their budget so they can anticipate where we're going. The other thing that will happen probably in the fall of 2026, a new RFP will go out to look at what the prices will be starting in May of 2027. And we have tried to do a 3-year contract originally. The one they had done, 3-year contract wasn't favorable. So we're going to go out after basically this 2-year contract. And we always start with 3-year, 4-year, and 5-year and see what they come back as. But as you know, the industry is crazy right now. Electrical power is in high demand. The cost has went up because of lack of facilities. The region is the PJM region. As a result, if there's not enough electricity, let's say in Pennsylvania, somebody gets charged for that additional cost of electricity that's generated in Ohio, and the reverse can come back the other way. So that's where I'm at. Any questions?
Ralph, just talk a second about those capacity chargers. You know, that's the thing that, you know, people here in Clermont County see on their bill. You know, people see electrical usage, and then when you turn around and look at it, the capacity charges are as much as the bill itself, you know?
And that's going to have a major increase July 1st of this year. And that everybody's going to be in for a shock.
So going with 8 cents a kilowatt hour, 8 cents plus a little bit of change, and not having to include any of those capacity charges, the group thinks that's the best way to proceed.
Yes. And what it does is gives us stabilization to the costs, particularly how it will affect the utility rates for water and sewer.
Do those pricings still apply to the 5%? If there was a deduction in 5%, it would be renegotiated?
You're correct.
Okay.
If it turns out that it gets below 5%, it would be, but we're taking the pool of all
right
of the accounts usage across
Got it.
all the 67 counties in Ohio.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
You bet. Would anybody else like to address the board just for a couple minutes here since we're this close to 11 o'clock?
Commissioners, I do have some costs on the debris management that you asked me about 2 sessions ago, so I'll get that to the commissioners here shortly.
Okay.
And then we'll meet with the Adams Clermont Solid Waste District and discuss how we want to reimburse those costs.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Gail, our meeting is at 11.
Yes,
Okay. We are pretty close, right? David?
yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to say, Commissioner?
We could, I guess. We could put some music on or something. Sure.
My name's Kyla Hucker. I live in Union Township. The grant program, it said that it generated 30-something thousand. How does a grant generate money for a county? What does that mean? And if it's too big of an explanation, it's okay. It says Reclaim generates $36.5 million in revenue for Clermont County. How do you make money off of a grant?
It just means that amount is available.
Yes,
For them to use?
Correct.
Yeah.
it
Correct.
doesn't come out of county
Correct.
taxes.
So that it doesn't have to come out of the general fund or come out of anything else. They've got a grant that's going to help pay
So
for
the
it.
grant is for that much money?
That's correct. And
I think what they said this year was for $918,000
That's our
is what was available.
that's
Yeah.
correct.
I
Doesn't
think
mean
he's
that-
talking about over the length of that program, it's been around $34 million. So they apply for grants, in different years. So this year,
Revenue is like making income, and I was wondering how the county makes income off of a grant, but that's not what
No.
that means, that is.
They're spending it.
right. That just means there's a placeholder where that kind of an electronic transfer comes in that says, okay, it's for $918,000. And then they can draw down that money to apply it to the costs that they incurred. That's what it is. Which in turn offsets some other costs that's in the county. So. You're welcome. Good?
Okay.
Fantastic. So with that, we will move to item letter G is 11 a.m. public hearing for a proposed vacation of a portion of Glen Estee Withensville Road in Union Township pursuant to section 5553.04 of the Ohio Revised Code. So, Gail, I will defer to you.
Today is the date, time, and location for the public hearing on the request to vacate a portion of Glen Estee Withamsville Road situated in Union Township. The legal notice that announced the viewing and the public hearing was published in the Clermont Sun for 2 weeks on 4/10/2025 and 4/17/2025. The board viewed the property on Monday, April 21st, 2025 with Craig Reisner from the county engineer's office. If there's anyone here that needs to sign in for the public hearing, please do so now for the official record. And if anyone's here to testify for or against, President of the Board David L. Painter will swear in anyone who intends to provide testimony.
Is there anyone here who'd like to give testimony today, either in opposition or as a proponent to the vacation? No one? Okay.
Okay,
Then we will disperse with swearing in, Gail.
thank you. Present today for the hearing is Craig Reisner, Deputy Surveyor from the County Engineer's Office, to present their report.
Good morning.
Morning.
Craig Reisner, Clermont County Engineer's Office. Today we have a hearing for the proposed vacation of 353 feet, a portion of Glen Estee Withamsville Road, County Road 55, located in Union Township. I reviewed the plat and description for the proposed vacation of 353 feet of Glen Estee Withamsville Road. The plat and description are acceptable for vacating purposes. There are existing public utilities within the proposed vacation area. The public utility company shall be deemed to have a permanent easement in the vacated portion of the street, highway, or road for the purpose of accessing, maintaining, operating, renewing, reconstructing, and removing those utility facilities. The permanent easement also confers the right of ingress and egress to service and maintain those utility facilities and the right to trim or remove any trees. So the reason that we've included this is there is Clermont County sewer and water utilities located within this vacation area. If the board decides to vacate the right-of-way, we'll no longer have transportation use of this property, but we will retain easements for the public utilities for maintenance of the sewer and water infrastructure. The plat and legal description are complete and acceptable. Described vacation will not create any landlocked parcels. If the vacation is approved, Clermont County road mileage will be reduced by 0.067 miles. So this is a result of the Transportation Improvement District Eichholz Road roundabout project. This property is adjacent to where the relocated roundabout is, so it's no longer required for right-of-way.
Anything else? Questions, board?
We went up, as we said, Monday, sat there in the rain and viewed the property.
Yep, we properly viewed at 9 a.m. on Monday. All three commissioners were in attendance. There were no residents
Yeah.
that attended the viewing.
And literally, this is just a strip of property between the sidewalk and the actual roadway, and there's nothing on it.
Right. It's already grass. It's all we're doing is removing the right for public road transportation uses. So it's adjacent to the township safety building. So if they want to use it for parking or landscaping or something of that nature, they can, as long as it doesn't interfere with the public utilities that we have in that area.
With the access to utilities.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reisner. Anyone else that wants to address the board during this time of hearing, since we have no proponent and all right. Is there any other correspondence, Gail?
No, sir.
Okay.
There was no correspondence, but I will clarify that there was a resolution sent to us by Union Township that says that they agree to this vacation and they have no issues with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a consensual resolution.
All right. Hearing nothing else, I would close the public hearing.
Now that the public hearing is closed, the board has the choice to either pass the resolution today granting, determining to vacate or not vacate. Would you like to proceed with that request?
We would ask to add that addition to the agenda first. Board, I would recommend we adopt resolution number 044, determining to vacate a portion of Glen Estee Withamsville Road within Union Township as described herein in section 555304. Do we have a motion to add that to the agenda?
Make a motion to add.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. And with that, Gail, if you want to do the honors on
I'll
the
read this. This is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 044-25, determining to vacate a portion of Glen Estee Withamsville Road. It's County Road C55 within Union Township, Clermont County, Ohio, as described and pursuant to and in compliance with section 5553.04 of the Ohio Revised Code.
board. You've heard the reading of the resolution for this vacation. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. That concludes our business after the public hearing for approval of the vacation. I will move on. We have already talked in county staff and elected official. Any other county staff or elected official wants to address the board? Hearing none, I'll move to member comments. Board members, comments today? Something exciting coming up? Anything?
Anything?
Beautiful day. Hearing none, I will disperse it. Go ahead.
Well, there's one other thing, was that yesterday, congratulations to everyone who was part of the Excellence in Education Award. I attended the ceremony last night. It was for all of our county schools and all the people doing all the work from the grants all the way to every one of the public schools. And it was marvelous to see the amount of scholarships plus the all the congratulations to even down to the cafeteria workers who were actually the most favored winners last night, because if it's not about the food, you don't care about coming to school. And from all the teachers, and they just did a wonderful job in their ceremony. And it was the Excellence in Education in Clermont County, and we have a lot to be proud of here. I was glad to be part of that community effort last night.
Fantastic. Glad you were there.
And one other thing, we made a trip to Columbus yesterday to the governor's residence, celebrating local government, right? Isn't that what?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And got to meet with the governor and the lieutenant governor. It was a wonderful visit.
Well, it's always good to get to go up and see all the folks that serve as elected officials. Our auditor was there.
And I think that was one, I was told of 3 that they're going to do. They kind of divided the state up so they could have everyone come in, and we were the first group to go.
And if you missed the one last night, you can make it on the next two, that's for sure. Any other comments? Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, that concludes our meeting today for the 23rd of April. We are glad you joined us, and we will see you next week. Thank you.